The seventh song for Yugoslavia concludes the first album that I would like to release. For some reason, I've imagined to have these EPs or LPs or whatever they're called, like albums that have only seven songs. So, in my opinion, seven songs create one meaningful unit. I was toying with the idea of labeling the albums as, you know, the truth and reconciliation, or peace and reconciliation, and that's what I called one of the video podcasts segments on my other YouTube channel. You know, the tour of peace and reconciliation. So I like that word peace and those words peace and reconciliation. I think, or war and peace, the ideas of yin and yang, having one album that speaks of things that happened to me, that have affected me negatively, and the other album that speaks about songs that are kind of way of dealing with negative things that have happened to me. I don't know. I am hoping that in the future I receive help from the government of Canada and other organizations here in town, such as Music NL or Arts NL. So these are two organizations that might be able to sponsor my further work. Because I realize if I really want to release these songs in a meaningful way, and if I really want to have somebody listen to them, you know, with an open mind, and take them seriously, they have to be recorded in such fashion. I am, after all, an artist that has almost 30 years of experience in scene, and I should have something coherent to provide to the world. I do believe that I have amazing songs and they have amazing messages, amazing stories behind them. I have fun with them. I'm releasing them the way I am releasing them because they're just burning within me. So I just need to basically get them out and go from there to see what happens. So, like I said, this is the seventh one today that I'm releasing the song for Yugoslavia, which concludes that first mini album. I already have another seven songs recorded in the same manner, and I might release them. I might keep them. I don't know. We'll see. It might take a little break. Why not? I don't know when the actual song for Yugoslavia came about. I do know that it came about in like late 90s, early 2000s, so it's an old song. And it came out during the time when I first moved to Canada. I was born in former Yugoslavia. I grew up in one society. I was born in Bosnia and Herzegovina, which used to be a part of former Yugoslavia. And, had a childhood like everyone else, full of traumas, broken noses, broken windows, lots of, good grades, and a lot of stealing, a lot of fighting, and sports, and adventures, and problems at home. And I think one of the reasons why I left home so early is that there was a lot of good and bad, and it just was impossible to separate these two. I had such a promising future ahead of me. I was one of the greatest students of my generation, but at the same time, I was also becoming a hooligan. So joining a military college was an idea, and I did that. Unfortunately, a war broke out in my country, and I became a person non grata. I could not stay in the army because the army became Serbian. I could not go back home because I officially betrayed the Bosnian side by being with Serbs, and even though half of my family is Catholic, they also wouldn't want anything to do with me because I was a member of Yugoslav army at that time. So truly, the only safe way out for me was to leave the country, and I tried the United States, failed. I think I tried Australia as well, failed, and finally, Canadians took pity on me and they said, "Yes, we'll help you." And I'm forever grateful for that, of course. You know, the whole story of me coming here was tragic and comedic, tragic comedy, or a tragedy and comedy. It's such a funny story, and it's a great story that I like to tell. But it's a story for another time and another experience. This is about the song for Yugoslavia, which came out of that time. You know, when I first moved to Canada, I was kind of hoping to become a good Canadian. I mean, whatever that is, to build my credit score. So in the morning, I would wake up. I remember I got myself a pair of shoes out of money that I saved so I can go running, and then I would learn English in the afternoon, and then in the morning, then in the afternoon, practice that and try to find jobs and build connections and do all the things that now young Ukrainians are doing. And when I see them, I see myself 20 years ago. Same story, different conflict, or the same conflict. Everything seems to be repeating itself, the wars, the conflicts, the stories, the scenarios. It was the same thing in 90s when I first came here. A bunch of Bosnians that came here, and most of us left. Only a few of us stayed here in Newfoundland because we wanted to play rock and roll. We were not interested in having normal jobs that most of other Bosnians wanted to have, and they moved to bigger cities so they can have a normal lifestyle, not a Newfoundland East Coast lifestyle. Whatever that means, honestly, I just thought, to me this place was bee's knees. I loved it. I really did. And for the first while, I was making good progress. I even, went to university, and everything seemed to be going well. I was, well behaved immigrant, Bosnian or whatever, until rock and roll found me again. Music has been kind of part of my experience and part of my rebellious nature throughout, even during the war in former Yugoslavia. I tried to play music and I tried to do, to be a rock and roll star. When everything was falling apart, I would tour the country with rock and roll musicians and avoid going to the war by doing that. So yeah, all the traumas, everything that happened in former Yugoslavia basically was just there behind my closed eyes. This is why the song for Yugoslavia starts, when I close my eyes, I look inside into the time when you were mine, when I was somebody else, when I had a different country, different identity, I spoke a different language. But everything changed, and I thought by learning a new language and moving to a new country that I would have a different personality, a different fate, different destiny. That's not the case, unfortunately. Whatever is meant for you travels with you, and my pain and my suffering came with me as well. So pretty soon I found myself, at the floor in the library of the university where I spent 5 years. I would go to classes, I would play music here, I would meet people. But whatever free time I would have, I would go to the library and find books and sit there and read about genocide, about mass murders, war, rape, slaughters, torture, things that happened in former Yugoslavia that I just couldn't grasp. I couldn't understand. I just couldn't understand why we would turn against each other so much. Why, even if it was a war, it became so bloody. It became just something that was unspeakable, like just unbelievable. Seriously. So I studied history. I studied present, future, past, everything I could think of. I spoke to people who came from the same experience. Videos, movies started coming out of that area as well, and it was overwhelming. At one point, I think I broke down. I really could not take it anymore, and one of the reasons why I left Canada, I moved to Asia, was to just forget everything, just to forget it all, to kind of move to a place where nobody knows me, nobody would ever ask me about what happened in Bosnia, because what I realized, I didn't want to share it with anybody, and even if I did share, people would not understand, and they would not support, and they would not vibe with me. I remember at one point, my professor, who was the most consulted expert on serial killers and mass murders in the world, asked me to do a presentation on genocide, after which he basically stood and gave me a standing ovation, and he told me in 39 years of teaching, he has not seen a tormented genius that I was, and asked me if I wanted to take his job after he retired. And I realized how messed up my experience was, that me at 23 years old is basically impressing a person with 39 years of experience of dealing with such horrible subjects. So there was obviously something wrong. It was way too much. And the worst part of it is that truth was just there in front of our eyes, and that every time I would close my eyes, I would see this. And I watched on TV. I remember, when I wrote the actual lyrics, now I see them breaking you, now I see them raping you. Can you see them breaking you? Can you see them? Because that, and I'm using this word very, very, very carefully, that mental rape was there, was constant. It was not enough that it happened really, that physically the people were just abused. The abuse continued long after, through the media portrayal, through the denial, which is probably the worst part, and just outright lies spread on TV, by all sides, by everyone. I realized after a long, 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 long study that I call it emotional education or emotional conditioning, is to be blamed for this. I claimed even during my presentation that within us, this system of education, the culture, the media, the books, the stories, create this button that when pressed, you go up in arms. For example, if you're a Newfoundlander, there are certain topics that if I want to talk about, will just send you up in arms. Whether that's something about your island or your food or your ancestry or something like that. And the same goes for Bosnia, for Algeria, for Argentina, for North Sudan and South Sudan. We have all been raised with these stories. My God, for example, here in Newfoundland, everybody's a fisherman when it comes to singing, and after they drink a couple of bottles of beer, everybody feels it, even though none of us have ever been on a boat or tried to fish. And I'm using this example here because I live here in Newfoundland. This is my home. But again, the same goes to Bosnia. The same goes, to North Korea or Argentina or South and North Sudan. People are raised to be patriots, but which equals with being nationalists or racists, to say the least. Because by loving yourself too much, you start hating everybody else. In every song I've encountered worldwide, there's always, if they try to do this to us, sit. Don't take my island, don't take my mountain, don't take my fish, don't take my cows. And that's what we did too. That's what happened in the Balkans. We started believing that, okay, this is a Serbian hat, this is a Bosnian dish, this is Croatian shoes. So these shoes were only made for Croatia and they belong to Croatia. Nobody else can wear them. Same with Serbian hats. This river belongs to you, does not belong to me. So this is, Bosnian water. This is Serbian mountain. This is Croatian raspberry. And it's funny, but it's not because people died because of this bullshit. That's it. We are one. This is why I have Bob Marley in the back. One love, one world. The air belongs to us, the water belongs to us, the earth belongs to us. Somebody somewhere decided that they're gonna have borders, that you're gonna be Canadian and they're gonna be American, or you're gonna be Bosnian and they're gonna be Serbian, so we can fight over some bullshit. So the rich can stay rich and the poor can stay poor. Or something like that. Truly, nobody knows why this is happening. Maybe the whole point is this evolution of DNA so we can all interbreed and create a superhuman for whatever reason. I don't know. I don't know. All I know is that my job as an artist is to speak, and this is what I'm doing in this YouTube channel. I'm slowly releasing my songs that I never really sing out in public because, like I said, these songs are very heavy. When I go out in public, I want to have fun, I want to dance, I want to enjoy, be with my friends, meet new friends, but I can't really sing about, genocide, rape, pilgrimage, and all that stuff that completely ruined my and lives of many. So to me, this is an outlet to stay true to myself, to stay true to my experience and share. I was the one watching my country being completely destroyed right in front of our eyes, and I was the one who had to watch people being murdered and raped, and I'm sorry. I mean, the song came to me. I wrote it down and it's there, and it's a beautiful song. My son plays the bass on it, and they don't even know what the song is about. They don't even want to watch these videos because they think like, we like this. We liked the songs until you told us what they were about. So I think maybe also I should not release any more videos, because let the songs be for whatever they are. Maybe they don't want to be explained. Maybe they just want to be like me or like anybody else, or like the people who were murdered. They just wanted to be too, but somebody decided that they were not to be anymore, and they stopped being. Who has a right to decide this? I don't know. Who is good, who is bad, who is needed, who is not needed. remains to be seen. The universe in the end will filter it all out for us, and then we'll find ourselves beyond this right and wrong, and we'll all be happy together, maybe in the next life. Uh, that's it for the first mini album, Peace and Reconciliation, whatever that is. First 7 songs are out. Let's see what happens next. Love you all and enjoy the tunes.